Sure.
All right. Everybody's just starting to fall in here now. It's coming up about 2 o'clock, Mr. McMillan. We get started here in just a minute. I see plenty of names falling in.
Mr. Houston.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing good, big brother. How you doing?
Doing great, man.
That's great.
All right, gang. We got a about 15 participants look like logged in so far, and I'm sure more will join us for the sake of time. And Mr. McMillan here to help us out, get through some of these weeds that we might know about, might need a little refresher, and some of them, like me, don't know anything about until just last year. Today we got our assistant state conservationist who jumped in here, decided going to help us out, get through this thing. Thanks to Mr. Carr, Mr. Michael Carr, reached out to Mr. Carr. He said, no problem, let's go for it. And Kurt Reedus, our NRCS top guy here in the state of Mississippi, they said we had partners in the chain of command, and I tell you, we got one sitting right here with us today, Mr. McMillan. So glad to have you. Most of the people here know Mr. Houston, and he's one of my mentors, and I wanted to see if he just wanted to introduce himself and say, have a word right quick. Mr. Houston?
Good afternoon, everyone. Charles Houston out of Grenada, Mississippi. Uh, Tony had mentioned that I am a mentor of him. We've been in a process with veterans, program called Farm Up, not Up in Farms. I want to get that difference in there. Facilitating access and resources to Mississippi underserved producers. That program basically finds veteran farmers or new and beginning farmers that need a mentor to come out to the farm. Uh, Basically, since before not Katrina, but COVID, we were making farm visits. Then after COVID, we have not been making farm visits. I've done one or two here local. But anyway, we're looking for farmers that need assistance in preparing their farm to do gap certification and get themselves prepared. But in the meantime, we need assistance from natural resource and others. So this today, I think, what Tony was saying, the county committee is the topic. Some of our people know what the county committee is, some don't, but we all need a refresher now since we're back in new aspects. Uh, the natural resource and USDA offices, some of them is open for appointments in person. Some of these offices are still not accepting personal appointment in person because I've had COVID in the last 4 weeks. So this is a thing that we are used to, getting used to. I'm not used to it, but that was my first round out of the 2 years. So cutting that down, my thing is to assist and help veteran farmers, disabled, and those that's able to whatever do their uh, Veteran Administration services and USDA. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Houston. Like I said, he's been a very big mentor of ours on our farm. And I want to introduce one more person right quick before we give it to Mr. McMillian, and that's Miss Coleman, Reverend Coleman. Miss Coleman has been giving us candy apples all along. She has been a wonderful, another wonderful mentor of ours. And just so Miss Coleman could say hello and maybe introduce you to herself and her organization. Miss Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Unexpected, but let me go ahead. My name is Reverend Gibson Coleman. I am with Mid-South Progressive Agricultural Group or Cooperative in 6 counties in North Mississippi. And thank you, Tony and Dolores, for putting on this forum. I'm excited to hear the information that Mr. McMillian is going to share.
Yes, ma'am. So no further to do. This is about the local work group meetings, the W's, who, what, when, where, and why. Anybody that's interested in natural resources, I hope they got this information so they can tune in, and we all look forward to learning something from our Assistant State Conservationist, Mr. Earl McMillian. Mr. McMillian, we're here for you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. You're on mute, Mr. McMillian.
It happens when you got 3 different screens up. I apologize. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that introduction there, and then also inviting me to speak to you and your group here about NRCS local work groups. Mr. Jones, as he mentioned, he reached out to Mr. Michael Carr last year about attending local work groups or having an input on what's decided in the county that he farms or resides in. And this year he wants to follow up and pass the word along to other groups here that's on the call today. And I'm here to advise you all and inform you all that that is possible. All of our local work group meetings are open to the public. We actually encourage farmers and ranchers and landowners to come in and participate in these groups so your voice can be heard on the things that's in your county you would like to see addressed. You'll have a say-so in the allocation of the money for those county funds. So again, I encourage you all to reach out to your district conservationist or soil conservation of the office that your county, that your property resides in, farm resides in, and become familiar with that NRCS soil conservationist or district conservationist. As I said, this local work group, and we are gearing up now. This week, Friday would be our deadline to have all our counties report what day their local work group meeting will be held this coming Friday. As of this morning, we have 60 counties that have reported the days that their local work group meeting will be held. First of next week, hopefully our public affairs specialists can get in and start updating our NRCS webpage that will show these dates of these meetings. But the best and the quickest way to find out when a meeting is going to be held is to contact your local office. Again, you will have a voice in the allocation of the monies for that county that you are participating in that meeting in. And Mr. Jones, is there anything else that you could think of that you would like for me to touch on as far as the meeting?
Can you touch on what a typical agenda is like in those local work groups?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Coleman, thank you. The typical agenda would be first of all, they will be setting aside the money. Each county gets a allotted amount of money. We're just going to use, for example, I'm going to use simple math, $100,000. All right, we have approximately 5 different resource concerns that we address on the county level. We have pasture land, cropland, sedimentation, water quality, and if you so happen to be in a county that has animal waste or poultry farms, you'll have animal waste. So of that $100,000 that that county received, you will have a voice in determining which is that county's top resource concern. I'm just going to use, for instance, pasture land for right now. Majority of the land in that county is pasture land. So a group would decide that they want to allocate at least 60% of that $100,000 to cropland. So that'd be $60,000 going into I said cropland again, pasture land. Be $60,000, and then you'll go down from your top to your least resource concern that you want to address, and you'll allocate money that way. So you'll go from 40 to 20 to 10 to 5 till we get 100% of the $100,000 allocated. Hopefully I'm making this clear to you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Under which,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, sir.
No, go ahead.
Under which one of these would the specialty crop growers, like most of our farmers, we grow your greens, your cabbages, corn, sweet corn for eating human consumption. Under which one of those designations will we fall under? The cropland?
Okay. It will fall up. It would not fall up under one of those categories. That money is a initiative. We have initiative for special crop, and another one that we have is specialty crop concentrated flow areas for erosion, small ruminant program initiative for small ruminants. So that money, you will not be setting allocations. We get that money in the state, all that money comes in the state, and we divide it between the 4 areas in the state evenly. So you'll compete with just, for instance, you said you was in Marshall County, interested in Marshall County. You only compete with people in area 1 for those funds. You won't compete with the whole state, just everybody. I think it is 20 counties there in area 1. You only compete against those for that specialty crop fund. All the practices in our initiatives like that, the practice that the national headquarters sent down, all the practice that they're deemed eligible will be eligible. We can't substitute or take out any practices. So you won't be making any kind of decision on any of our initiative programs.
So under the cropland, what type of issues are addressed under the cropland? And anybody that have questions, they could ask too. Feel free.
Yes, please. Cropland, you'll be looking at some of your bigger row crop producers where we're doing passing pipes around a soybean field or land leveling soybean field. You can do irrigation management in those fields as well. So okay. That would not, cropland would not, you would not be able to compete for specialty crop or small gardens in cropland resource concern.
We do have a question in the chat. So I don't know who posted the question, but they want to know, they would like to know that if the USDA can allocate money for farmers who are landlocked and need bridges and things of that nature and equipment. That was one part of the question.
As for, I can only speak for NRCS, know that there's nothing in our program that we can help with landowners being landlocked, need of bridges. Bridges and culverts, no, we do not provide access for you to get to the backside of your property. I've had that come up numerous times. That's not something that we can do. Now, equipment, you will want to visit with your FSA officer at the county to see about getting a farm loan for equipment.
The other part of that question is, what is the competition guidelines? And they see that it's a hindrance to small disadvantaged farmers? What's the guidelines?
I'm not understanding what they mean by this being a hindrance of small farmers, disadvantaged farmers.
The one
I
who's
don't know
asking
either,
the
but
question, they
anyone
would
that,
like, the one who's asking the question, they would like to just voice the question. We have a partner here. This is the time to get all our understandings right now. We have a partner right here that can answer these questions. So you could feel free to jump in.
Mr. McMillian, this is John Kane. I'd like to go back to the specialty crop initiative, since that seems to be where most of the attendees are focused.
Yes, sir.
How do we access information about what funds are available and how to compete for them?
Well, the best I could tell you is you just want to visit with that office that you're in, the county office that you're in, and submit an application for funding. If you don't submit an application, you can't be funded. There's not anything in the local work group meeting where you will see this money comes directly from national headquarters. It's delivered straight to my office here at the Jackson State office here. And then we disperse it to the counties and let them know. And we actually draw the lines here in the state office. The counties did not draw the lines. You go through a ranking process. And once the application is ranked, we will pull the ranking and we'll start at the highest ranking score and go down to the lowest ranking score, depending on the money that's in that funding pool for specialty crops.
And has the national office given you an indication of how much money is available this year? And have y'all already split it up among the counties?
We've already, 2022 money is gone. We're actually allocating it now. We're wrapping 2022 up now. So we're gearing up now and planning ahead for 2023. And that's what the local work group meetings are.
Got it.
Being conducted for the fiscal year 2023, starting October 1.
Okay, and so what was the amount of money for 2022, just to give us an idea of the importance of the program?
If you give me 1 second, I'll pull that up for you. What county are you're farming in? That way I can give you an idea of what area you're in. I can tell you how much money went to that area.
Sure. I'm myself, I'm not farming. I'm with a nonprofit, but I'm working with farmers in Holmes and Sunflower and Bolivar County.
Okay, so that's
any one of those counties would be fine.
That ought to be Delta counties there, so I can give that to you pretty rapidly here. Wow, specialty crop. $381,000 went to specialty crop for that area.
For the Delta counties, and that's what, about 8 or 10 counties in that region?
That's 10 counties in the Delta.
10 counties. Okay, all right. So for give or take 35, 40,000 per county.
Correct.
Well, that's actually, that could help a lot of farmers.
So I was really afraid. They grabbed my hand from both sides. They were like, Mr. Ingram.
I didn't understand the question she asked.
I think
Maybe there was someone that had an open mic behind.
Oh,
it.
okay. I thought that was a question.
So the specialty crop initiative is a total separate set of monies that's not tied into the local work group meeting.
That is correct.
It comes from another source.
It comes directly from national headquarters to us for that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I'm just going to put it out there. The local work group and the money that our counties receive, they don't near about receive enough money to fund the application that they get. I'm gonna use, for example, on the average, I just use for Adams and Jefferson County, where I just came from before I came to the state office, we only get $60,000 in Adams County and $50,000 in Jefferson County. If you had a couple large contracts, that money didn't go far if you had two big contracts up front.
Mhm, mhm. The numbers that everybody talk about the ranking, we go to the meetings and we hear about the ranking.
Yes, sir.
And being able to strike the boxes for the underserved farmer, how can you expound on that as far as the ranking go? How does that benefit us as the ranking, whether we're military veterans, like I am, new beginning farmer, new to it? Could you explain how that ranking system go?
Yes, sir. Okay, and we're gonna stick with specialty crops since most of the producers here are specialty crop producers. So you came in, wanted to apply for an EQIP program for specialty crop, and you went into the office. That field office will rank you in the specialty crop fund pool. And once he answers those questions, there's gonna be some questions on there. It's gonna ask him if you are a beginning farmer or a socially disadvantaged farmer or a limited resource farmer or a veteran farmer. And the way that NRCS employee will answer those questions by looking at your application that you submitted, the EQIP application, the 1200. He would get that information off of there and check it accordingly. Now, on top of that specialty crop, we also offer all those programs, all those practices that you want in specialty crop. We offer them in our historically underserved ranking pool too. And we have 4 historically underserved ranking pools, which are socially disadvantaged, beginning farmer, excuse me, limited resource farmer, and veteran farmer. All right. Qualification of a social disadvantaged farmer is a black farmer, Asian farmer, Latino, or Pacific Islander. Asian Pacific Islander are classified as socially disadvantaged farmers. Beginning farmer is a farmer that can show proof from his tax return of not filing a Schedule F in 2 out of the last 10 years. A beginning farmer would have to meet the minimum income for that county level. He would have to bring in his income tax to show that he has not made it for the last 2 years. So if you're coming in this year, you'll want to bring in your 2022, 2021 tax return. Let us look at it and make sure that you are a limited resource farmer. A veteran farmer, as of the 2018 Farm Bill, veteran farmer definition changed. Veteran farmer now has to be, in order to qualify as a veteran farmer, you have to be a veteran farmer and beginning farmer. On top of that veteran farmer, you have to be recently discharged out of the military within the last 10 years. I mean, you have to show proof of that to be a veteran farmer. So it changed a lot. And we don't get many veteran farmers like we used to. It used to be if you was a veteran farmer beginning, you would pretty much go to the top. But now you have to be a veteran farmer, a beginning farmer, and discharged within the last recent 10 years.
Any idea why being a veteran farmer slid so low down the ladder?
I have no idea. That was wrote in the 2018 Farm Bill. Hopefully we'll see another change in the 2023 Farm Bill. Actually was on a call yesterday with the Policy Center at Alcorn State University, and they are addressing that now for the new Farm Bill.
Let me ask a question. How long can you actually stay on this ranking list? I applied 5 years ago and I've still not been able to get a high tunnel. Does it just roll over, or is there something that I need to do as far as going back into the office and reapplying?
Yes, ma'am. All right. You applied the last 5 years. I'm just going to use this year, for example. This year, you haven't been funded. You received no communication from us. Late September, 1st October, you should be getting a letter from NRCS saying that field office saying that your application has been deferred to the next year. And do you want to come in and make any updates to your application, maybe change some practices, take a practice out, add practice, or do you want to just cancel your application? You have that option as well. If you do nothing, NRCS should roll your application over for the next following year. Now, sometime it could change, and they could say, if we don't hear from you, depending on if they ask you to come in and update your eligibility, and you don't update your eligibility, then they're gonna mark that application ineligible and should send you an ineligibility letter, so you will not be considered for the later years. Me personally, I will call and contact the district conservation or soil conservation and make sure that my application is still on file for the next preceding year.
Okay, and I've done that for the last 5 years. I've added additional practices that I would like to see on my land. And I'm always told that I did not make it in the ranking. So I don't know, I just have questions about the whole ranking process, because I've asked different NRCS employees, and it seems as if there's something that's missing in this process that maybe we as socially disadvantaged, or rather Black farmers, just don't know about. Is that possible?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Can you tell me the county and your name? And I'll check on the application myself. Tupelo?
I'm in Chickasaw County.
Chickasaw.
And what I've applied for is a high tunnel.
Okay. If you don't mind giving me your name, I'll check on it.
Not at all. My name is Carolyn Jones, and I'm the director of Mississippi Minority Farmers Alliance.
Yeah, phone number, Ms. Jones?
662-213-2433.
2433?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me check into it. Let me check into it and just see where it is, and I'll give you a call back.
I sure do appreciate that. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. I'm trying to look at the chats over to the side to see if I answered it.
Yeah, there is another question in the chat.
Okay.
That someone wants to know, what do you do if you don't have income tax for the past 2 years?
But if you can't show proof, then you can't qualify as a limited resource farmer. That wouldn't be a problem. You just wouldn't qualify as a limited resource farmer if you can't show proof of taxes for the last 2 years.
There are some limited resource farmers who don't file tax. Shouldn't there be some other way, like bring a statement from your Social Security, whatever, or just something? But I mean, to be just thrown out because your income is so low that you don't file taxes.
Yes, you can show proof of your income, what you receive from Social Security, and you're gonna get the same thing every month for 12 months, and they can figure that out.
And if you're not eligible due to age or whatever for Social Security, and you actually have no income, then you're just a non-person, a non-entity or something.
No, well, if you're Black, you'll be qualified as a socially disadvantaged, which is still the HU funding pool.
Oh, I thought you said if you couldn't show income tax for 2 years, you couldn't be verified as socially disadvantaged.
I said limited resource farmer.
Limited resource. Oh,
Yes.
okay, I get you. Socially disadvantaged. Okay, and limited resources, 2 different pools. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't hold back. This is a few minutes we have to get some answers. So I know you have more questions out there. Mr. McMillian.
Yes, sir.
You gave the example of in the counties in the Delta, and I forgot what area it was, area 3 or maybe
Area 4.
Area 4.
Yes.
And you gave an example of 381,000 that went into those counties of approximately 10 to 11 counties in that area. That those funds would be in the area, of course, that would hit the specialty crop growers like us, like most of us at least.
Okay.
In comparison to what they set aside for the specialty crop, under that pasture land, cropland, under those 5 areas, what kind of money went to them in that same time period? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I follow you. Let's see. Area 4 cropland, we had a little over $3 million went in there. And Area 4 grazer land had $1 million to go in there.
One with a B?
1 million.
Oh, million. 1 million.
Yes. No, we get, let me get $1 billion where everybody getting funded.
That's what we try to do. So there's obviously quite a bit more money is being allocated towards that side versus the specialty crop growers.
Correct.
Is that because we're looking at it as being smaller farmers, or why is it such a imbalance there?
All right. And that's the only area that this is going to be a discrepancy in, or look off balance. And that's because Mississippi Delta is so big, has so many big farmers. They do a lot of land leveling and water pads and pipes and things like that up there. So it takes much money, irrigation reservoirs up there. So those practices really cost a lot of money. And that's why that you see that imbalance compared to other areas.
Okay. So do they take into consideration annually? I'm going to ask questions. I guess there's nobody else. You can feel free to jump in, where you want to. But do they take into consideration year after year? Because we was similar to Ms. Jones in that we had applied for about 5 years and we hadn't received anything. And finally last year, after attending that local work group meeting, seemed like we got some attention and we got some funding. We finally got our conservationists actually on the property along with the engineer. We finally got them out on the property. And I know Mr. Houston said farm up. I'm gonna speak about David Watkins with Up and Farms. He came out with us and walked the land with our conservationists and the engineer to tell them what we were trying to do, since he was more familiar with our place. And then it seemed like after he made it there, that we got some attention and got a few resources down to the specialty crop growers, myself and another farmer. So with such a limited resource of 381,000, and that was spread out into 10 counties.
Well, no, those 10 counties, every applicant that applied for a specialty crop in those 10 counties was in the same, they competed against one pool. They all went in the same pool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they didn't divide it up equally between the 10 counties. They just put everybody in those 10 counties together. And then from the top ranking score down till you ran out of money, that's how those are funded.
And who actually does the ranking?
The NRCS office of that county does the ranking.
Of the county or the area?
The county.
The county does the ranking.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any bag up? Is there any bag up that says, say I'm in Marshall County and I was ranked, and for 3 years I didn't get anything? Is there any way to follow up to see who ranked how? Why am I not ranking high enough to get anything? After all, I could strike. Well, now that I know I can't strike veteran anymore, I'll take veteran off. But it seemed as though I could strike all the others, at least, and I never got up high enough. Was it, could it potentially be because there was not enough funding in my county during that time to spread out, to touch us at all?
And that's one of the things I was getting ready to answer your question earlier when you started. One of the things I always told my farmers too, at the beginning of the farm bill, the states don't get a lot of money because they're still writing the bill and they're still trying to get the whole bill planned out. Once you get to the end of the farm bill, which we're in now, states start seeing more money and we'll start funding. This year, we're funding more applications than we did the previous years of the farm bill. So And that may be the case of yours last year about you not getting in before, and then last year we got a little more money. This year we're getting a little more money. So it's going on down the list as we get more money. They're trying to use all the money before the end of the farm bill. So that's why we see more money at the end of the farm bill than you do at the beginning of the farm bill.
Mr. McMillan, I'm sorry, this is Carolyn again. I've got a question about something that you just said. So the county NRCS offices oversee the ranking? The local ranking process?
Yes, yes, they rank all applications that you all submit.
Okay, so can you tell me then, if my NRCS office has 3 or 4 people there, those are the only people that do the ranking?
Yes, ma'am.
Whoa, wait, okay, let me ask you this thing. What type of oversight is that for that process then at that point?
I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not going to say that we don't have any oversight. I'm not going to say that. I would like to say that all of our officers are aware of our ranking process and have done it and familiar with it, that we don't have problems, but sometimes we do.
Okay. And I mean, I understand that, but you understand also that where we are here in Mississippi and the horrific discrimination that USDA has perpetrated upon us as Black farmers. So now this is turned over to the white boys who we're going into these offices and seeing, because in my area, I don't see anybody that look like me. So they're going to rank my application. I know what's been happening then for the last 5 years, because I mean, I've been into it with them for the last 5 years. And what I have been told is that they don't do the ranking, it's done through Jackson.
I'm going to tell you right now on this call, and I know it's being recorded, that's not true. We don't do any ranking in Jackson.
I sure do appreciate this information. I really, really do. And I appreciate you for coming on, and Tony and your group. And I appreciate you all for bringing this to the forefront of the farmers, because we have been told this for so many years. And I've even written letters about not being funded. And all I get is the same thing that you said about you didn't rank high enough. So get this letter and you can send a letter in and say you want to be carried over to the, I've done all of that. I've jumped through those hoops, but I ain't jumping no more. And I'm sorry. I'm so glad, because this is really upsetting me. I mean, I know how the local working groups work. I know how the county committees and stuff work, and we're working to change those. But when we're just given flat out wrong information from these offices, that really, really bothers me. And especially when somebody that don't look like me could care less about my interests, is making decisions, and I'm a taxpayer just like they are.
That's correct.
But I'm not gonna vent. I'm sorry, I'm through. I'm not gonna vent.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I appreciate the feedback that you're giving me. And so just to make sure I'm clear, and I understood you correctly, that the local office told you that they have nothing to do with the ranking. The ranking is done in Jackson.
Yes.
That is incorrect. I'm going to tell you that right here today, that's incorrect. Only thing Jackson do is look in the ranking system, what they have ranked, and then we go through and fund from the highest to the lowest ranking score. That's all we do.
I want to say to you, Ms. Helen and everybody else on the line, I'm a New and beginning farmer myself. But I want to say, and I have land in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. My biggest struggle is Tennessee. Of course, Mississippi hadn't given me any feedback because they ran out of funding. But I would say to you, document. The first way of documentation is making sure every time you contact them, whether it's be it telephone, email, or personal contact, you get a service receipt so you can show that you have contacted them. And you got to know where to complain to. At the state level, they're just funding. There's very ways that you can address your issue. Because I had to go to the top on Tennessee, but I'm retired from USDA. And I know I used to do program delivery. So I know what it's like out there in the field. Now, Alabama, it was the first place, even when I was doing site reviews, it's the first place I ever seen so many look just like me. And when you got somebody else that look different from you, like in Tennessee, that in Mississippi, that don't want to see us funded, you got to make sure you document, you got to make sure your address and your complaint in the right venue. And another thing we got to do is Black. Right now it's open season for the FSA committee. We got to start getting on those committees so we can have a voice and we'll know what's going on at the lower level. Because see, when you're talking about upper level, you're talking about people that do the funding. Once they give out the funding, they leaving it up to the county to disperse that money properly. And we all on the line know that that is not happening. So Line said my piece.
And one thing that I want to say as well, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, when we first applied for water, for a well, we were told that we were only supposed to apply for one thing at a time from our office. And so that's what we did the first year. And then we found out that was incorrect, apply for more practices. And so when we did that, we still didn't get funded, nor did we receive a letter saying that we didn't get funded. We was just, waiting patiently for this letter. And so I decided to call, and that's when they would tell us, okay, you wasn't funded. Do you want your application to roll over? Of course we want to get it rolled over. And we were also told that the ranking was not done in our local office. So we see now that the pattern is, it appears to be across the board. What we are hearing and the information that we get is very much incorrect. And we do need some, hold some other people's foot to the fire as it comes to what we're going to get and what we're going to accept and how we're going to handle this situation going forward.
So, Mr. McMillian, this is John Kane again. It sounds like there are two solutions to this. One is greater transparency of the process, letting applicants know what the internal process is at USDA. And I'm familiar enough with government agencies to know that you guys have that written down in fine detail in some kind of an internal guidance document. So getting access to that document so that we know what your process is would help us a lot. And I guess the other thing is, who's picking the people on these county committees, and where do you get the opportunity to have some of the people on this call represented on those committees?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, and that's the purpose of this call here today. Now, let's not get the two committees confused. The FSA committee that the young lady just spoke of previously, that we need to try to get some people in that look like us to be on those county committees. That's FSA county committee.
Mm-hmm.
The committee that I'm representing, I'm asking you all to participate in is our local work group committee, and this is actually not it's a committee, but it's not like FSA's committee. It's not anybody appointed. Anybody that forms in that county can walk into that office and be a part of that local work group meeting because you have a voice in that county.
And that even applies to the initiative money that
that does not apply. That does not apply to initiative funding. Nothing on any of the initiatives are documented or worked on through a local work group meeting. It comes down from national headquarters to me, and then me and my staff, we dispense it out to the areas. Okay. There's 4 areas in Mississippi. And then we'll tell them how much money that area is going to get for that initiative.
And then that area committee is the one that apparently there are some issues about representation. Is that correct?
Say that one more time.
Well, when you advise an area group that they have $385,000 to work with and they can review applications from 10 counties. So who decides who's going to be on the ranking exercise? Who decides who the people are that do the ranking?
That county office is responsible for all ranking. We provide them with, and they don't develop the ranking tool. The ranking tool is developed by myself and my staff. We'll give them the tool, we'll load it in their system, and all they do is go in there and answer the questions that's applicable to your land.
So that county group committee, whatever name you want to call it, gets selected by somebody who makes, who determines the people
No,
that
these
are.
are NRCS employees that does the ranking now.
Got it. Okay.
So these are all NRCS employees that does the ranking.
So if someone, okay, go ahead, Ms. Coleman.
Yeah, I want him to restate what he said about his office loading the ranking.
The ranking questions.
Yeah.
Yes, my office load all the ranking questions into each county ranking pool for them to go in and just answer the question.
So all they do is answer the question, and then what spits out my ranking? The computer or
the computer? Yes.
So the way, okay, I'm a little confused because it's a dual system. So the computer is set up with a ranking, and then the local office inputs whatever data that I provided for them.
That is correct.
And then something magically spits out, or is there a human hand intervention?
No, there's a number. There's some numbers working behind the scene that even I don't know how they come up with them. That comes from national headquarters. National headquarters will send us our ranking tool. We would then turn around and develop questions. My staff, as well as the ECS staff here in the state office, would develop the ranking questions. We'll import those questions into that tool. Then this is all on the computer. Then the field office can go into the system and pull up their county and put your name in, your farm in. They know exactly where your farm is by your farm and tract number. And they'll answer the questions that's applicable to your land and what you have on your application. And then there's a number that it'll give it at the end. My office will take that number and it'll put them from highest to lowest, and we'll start at the highest and start coming down the list till we run out of money for that funding pool.
So then I have to trust that officer or employee put all the information in about my farm.
You do. I agree with that. You do.
Mr. McMillian, is that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go on, Ms. Coleman, I'm sorry.
So basically, some of what they say that the ranking system is done by Jackson is not really a falsehood.
Say that one more time.
When we're told that I don't have anything to do with the ranking in our local office, it is not a falsehood to say that it's done in Jackson or by whatever was input in Jackson.
That office does not have any dealings with the question that's put into the ranking tool, but he actually has to answer all the questions.
Okay.
He or she has to answer the question. So yes, he's ranking it. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know what you have on your property to rank your application. He has to answer all the questions. If he answered the question truthfully, what's out there and what you put on your application, then that number that it spits out, we start at the top. We fund the highest one all the way down till we get to the bottom, till we run out of money for that funding pool.
Okay, so if I've been in 5 years, do I move up or do I stay where I am, go lower?
Depends on if we change the question year to year.
Okay.
Yes, depends on if we change any questions. Now, it doesn't hurt you at all to ask for a copy of your ranking, so you can look through and look at the question that he asked and see if you agree with him.
That was my question. Thank you.
That don't hurt at all. He should pull out his folder right then and show it to you and let you look at the questions and you, yeah. Wait a minute, what about this here? This don't look right. And you and him agree that don't look right. He should re-rank it.
We've never been told that. We've never been told that. We've been told that the ranking comes from another pool, and to know that we can go in now and see where our ranking is. Is that what you're saying?
After it's been ranked. So now, okay, we're gonna use now, for instance, Miss Jones, she haven't received anything yet. Ms. Jones can call her office up tomorrow and ask can she come by and look at her ranking. She go by and look at her ranking.
Thank you, but I won't be calling. I'll just go by because
No, I
there's an
don't-
issue when you call, you know.
I-
But let me
okay.
ask you one other question too now. I have land in 2 separate counties.
Mhm.
So I can only get NRCS assistance in 1 county?
No, ma'am, not at all. Every
Okay,
county you got out, every county you got land in, you can
I
apply
know.
for assistance in that county.
Okay, okay. The reason I asked that is because I applied for a hoop house in both counties.
Okay,
And the county that I have I have not gotten anything in Chickasaw County, I was told that I had gotten a hoop house on my land in Monroe County, so I could not get one in Chickasaw County.
tell them to give me
Yes.
that in writing.
Well, unfortunately, she's no longer there, but yeah, and I filed a complaint and everything against her, but I still don't have a hoop house.
Wow.
May I throw something in? Well, I have been through most of what you were talking about, and I went through the yelling and the screaming, and it didn't, I felt like it almost got me blackballed. I just kind of tucked my tail and went away for a while. But one of the things that I was told that I think is helping is that you ask for what is called a receipt of service for every trip you make. If you go by there, if you left your watch at home and you want to know what time it is, you just tell them, would you please put in writing that I came by and inquired about the time? You know, that's just, and came by and inquired about my application, my ranking or whatever. Now, I applied, I got a high tunnel, I think 10 or 12 years ago, and they got destroyed and I put it back together myself, but I applied for another one. And the year a friend of mine and I put our application in at the same time, and everybody who applied for one got one except me. And I went in to inquire, and they said, well, you know, I don't know why. And I said, I know you can do better than, okay, so I applied for something, everybody get one except me, and all I can get is I don't know. And I said, well, if you don't know, who knows? Give me a number, I can keep going. I ended up calling Jackson, and basically what happened was apparently somebody stuck because they kept telling me, well, you didn't get one because you weren't ranked. Why wasn't I ranked? Was my application so shabbily put together that you looked at it and went, oh my God, this isn't worth ranking? And no, I said, well, why wasn't it ranked? I don't know. So after about a week, I finally contacted Jackson. And what he found out for me was that I was never ranked because they didn't know where my application was. Somebody had apparently stuck it in their desk drawer, and it never got looked at. So there was a new person who had just come to the office, and he says, well, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to personally take your application. He took another application, and I'm sitting there while he's in the computer with the application. Then I went by this year, you know, since COVID, and I always make them listen to how wrong they done me before. And I said, now, this young man took my application himself. I know I should hear from you all. And they looked everywhere. They couldn't find an application. So they couldn't find the one he did. This time, the last time I went in, I had my list of things that I wanted to apply for. And when the young man went through, and he was a very nice young man, this time I was treated more respectfully than ever, because when I got the high tunnel initially, there was a man who knew somebody who helped me. I didn't just go in, and as a Black woman with a big mouth, you know, I didn't get it by myself. So this time the young man went through everything, and I said, now you give me in writing a copy of everything I asked you for. He said, well, I have it all here. I said, you have it here. I said, I come back in a couple of weeks later, or, you know, when it's time to get some information, and you can say you never heard of me. I can show him a piece of paper and say, yes, you did. And he was very befuddled about that, but I insisted, and I walked away with everything. I said, now you sign it. So now he contacts me routinely, which I absolutely love. So if you ask for a receipt of service and you know what you're doing, that has demonstrated to be helpful to me. I will, if I go in, I won't leave unless they give me something with somebody's signature saying what I came and asked them about.
Thank you for that. And yes, you are correct. And I highly recommend that everybody that contacts our NRCS office asks for a receipt of service. It's a requirement for us to do, so we should do it.
Yeah, we
Mr.
had an
McMillan,
issue with
again,
that. We had an issue with that initially as well, but once we learned that that form, that they could access that form in the computer and actually fill that form out and give it to you, we were told everything from, oh, I can't find a copy. Oh, I can't find it. We'll send it to you. Come back, you know, and get it. All those types of things. You know, we were told that. But in my previous life, when we tell someone, when we go out and tell someone, give them a warrant and tell them, hey, you got to come to court on a civil matter, and they decide not to show and a judgment is entered against them. We feel in the same way here, because I go into the NRCS office, I fill out my application, or they fill out my application. 4 years go by at least, and we're never ranked high enough. And I'm saying, wait a minute, we check all the underserved boxes, and new beginning farmers went down, bought some land, and we never got a positive response until last year, mind you. This meeting came up. I don't know. I think we were making a little noise, in the town, honestly. And then we got a little funding behind that. But the same one who's entering my information in the system that I trust to do the right thing for me, then going to be the one to turn around and grade me. Now, so I'm entering all the information. Mr. Houston is entering all the information in the county, for example. And he see that his boy is 5 points short. Can we not make that 5 points up? Can we not find a few extra votes?
No, you can't. You can't. Even me, I can't figure out how the points are. I chatted up behind the scene. This has come from headquarters. There's some numbers that this divided by this time, that weighted average and everything come. I promise you, I don't know of an employee. If we do have some out there, they're geniuses that can manipulate the ranking tool.
But they can see
the only thing is that they can do is you have some on your application that you say that you're doing or you meet this criteria and they're not checking it. That's it. But as far as I need to find 5 more points for this one over here so he can get in and not this one, he can't do it. He or she can't do it.
Or maybe not completely fill out my application and say, oh, I'll get back. We had a situation with FSA. I don't know what happened. I just went out.
So I think I still hear you.
Okay.
I hear you. I don't see you, but I hear you.
Okay. So we had this situation with FSA here not long ago. And what happened was we went up there, we filed for the crop insurance. The young lady took our application, but once the administration changed, once your team came in, Mr. Readers and FSA.
Mr. Fairley.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And let me tell you, we really do appreciate y'all too, because we haven't been privy to get all this type of good information. So that being said, once they came in, the ball started to move a little bit. So from my FSA office, we got a phone call that said, Mr. Jones, we need to complete your crop insurance application. And I mean, we got a thick packet of everything we had applied for, because the one who took the application did not complete it properly. I never would have known that until I would have experienced a loss, that my representative did not complete my application completely. So where would that have failed? For example, whose responsibility is when we sit down with our representatives, either FSA or NRCS or rural development, whose responsibility is it to make sure that we have a complete and accurate application?
As an application, and I can't speak for FSA and rural development, but as for an application, you're responsible. You should actually fill out that application yourself. Now, I'll fit to make a point here and to tie into what you were saying.
Yes, sir.
If you received that deferred letter saying that you weren't considered for funding this fiscal year, that to ask you to do everything, once you go back to tell that field office that you would like to defer yes, I'd like to defer my application over to 2023. But while we're doing it, let me have a copy of my ranking so I can have. And it shouldn't be a problem for them to go in there and grab that ranking and make a copy of it and give to you. You go through and you look at it and make sure that you agree with the questions. I mean, it's not rocket science that they go through. Actually, the ranking is the simplest thing it is to doing all this before we allocate the money. And look through those questions and see if you agree, yes or no. And if there's something you have a question about, ask them to explain it to you if you think it's not answered correctly.
Yes, sir. We have people in this Delta and all over that I'm finding out, that can't read, that don't know how to do it. The computer, I have one farmer that I work with that when we send out a group text, I have to call him directly.
I understand.
Because he can't even read the text.
Right.
And that's where I find the organization, Sergeant Major Burch, Miss Jones, they're doing such awesome jobs at trying to reach out and help everybody, but we don't know what to ask. And I know it's been an hour. I don't want to hold Mr. McMillian too long. He answered a lot of great questions. Anybody have anything hot that they want to shoot out there right quick, or you want to forward questions directly to him? I put in the chat group a link to all the NRCS and employee handbooks so you could read that, learn what the areas you're in and things of that nature. I'm not trying to cut it off, just trying to be respectful of Mr. McMillian's time. Anybody else jump on so we can let Mr. McMillian go and we could tell him thank you and hopefully he'll come back again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just want to jump in and say something when you were talking about who's responsible for the application. I just got home. I was about 10 minutes late signing in because I was at a minority outreach field day and a representative from NRCS was there. And basically the representative said, and I totally agree with that, is that you are responsible for filling out your application. He said that they are not actually supposed to fill it out because if at the end of the day, there's some discrepancy about what's on there, they don't want to be held responsible. When you fill your application out, you should be able to walk out with a copy in your hand. And that should reflect what you say. If you got arthritis in your hand and you need them to push a button or something, they're good people. I think, maybe they, but anyway, he said, you are responsible for what's on that application. So if you fill it out, ask them for a copy of it. And like I did the last time when I told this young man I wanted a receipt for service, he was new and I insisted. I said, I want in writing everything that I asked you for, you said you're going to consider. So finally, he just gave me a copy of the application. I said, now you sign it, put your signature on top of the fact that it shot out of your computer. So I came home and I read it and I wanted to make sure it reflected what I said, and it did. But, if you got somebody who can't read or write, then you're going to have to help them. You can't rely on RCS to help them because because if they help them, they're going to be responsible for the outcome.
Correct. Yes, ma'am, you are totally correct. and I appreciate you bringing that to everyone else's attention. There's one other thing I was looking at in the chat over here, just to touch Ken Cole, Miss Cole, Mr. Cole. I'm not sure. Mr. and Ms. says Amy in there too. I'm not sure which one is on. But are you supposed to tell them what you're trying to do, and they are supposed to guide you? Is your understanding?
That's not Amy. That's Army in parentheses.
Army. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. All right. Yes, that is correct. You should go in the NRCS and tell them what your goal is for your land, what you're trying to do, and they should then be able to tell you that if your goal is something that can be tied into our EQIP program, and we have so many different initiatives in the EQIP, they should be able to guide you and tell you, well, you need to apply for this or you need to apply for that. And that the main thing is they should meet you on your farm and see what you're talking about, and then maybe offer suggestions on what they see out there. That's the way we should be doing it.
But they don't do that. Nobody has ever been to my farm. When I first got approved and got the high tunnel, they were saying that you got to show us, you got to prove that you're doing and following all of our rules. And they wouldn't come out. I took pictures and took it to them. And I said, this is what I need to do to prove to you all I'm following your rules. These are pictures. I made a little photo album and said, here you go. And I encourage.
You got a local problem. I don't know your name, who's speaking now, but you got a local problem that you need to take it up a notch. You've heard of going through the chain of command. So you're gonna have to take it to the next. Everybody got somebody to report to. So you're gonna have to stop telling me, wasting your time. And you sound like you about my age, and baby, we ain't got time to be wasted. We got to make things happen. And we can't wait on somebody. We know we are wise enough at this point in life to know when we be railroad, when people trying to help us, and when people just trying to sugarcoat it and all that stuff. So
absolutely right.
In 5 years, I applied in Madison County, Alabama, got my high tunnel this year. I was shocked. Mississippi told me they ran out of funding. I had to contact them, but I'm going to Mississippi home next week, and guess what? I'm gonna go by that office. I'm gonna ask for a copy of the ranking because I like to see that. Same thing with Tennessee. So when we know that we're not getting the service we're that are due us, and yes, they're supposed to be the one doing that job, but we all know that people don't always do what they are supposed to do. And when we know that we're not getting the service, 5 years on a high tunnel, I don't have that kind of time. I got everything, eating up everything out of my garden and in my raised bed. And do you think I'm hearing this next year?
Yeah, because if I wait 5 more years, I'll be 80 in 5 years, okay?
You good. You have been patient, sound like, but it's now, I'm telling you, and there are all kinds of avenues where you can you don't tarry in the same wilderness forever. And if nothing else fails, when you go up the chain of command, you could also go to the federal level and apply on the USDA program complaints. So you're tearing in the wilderness too long with the same problem. It's time when you get off this phone, you need to be contacting somebody else to find out who that office report to. If I was you, I would go to the from the county to the state. I take it up the chain of command. Find out who are the contacts, who those people report to, and tell them you got your documentation. Every time we even talk to those people, we need a receipt of service. I did not know that. And they are supposed to do it, but they're not going to do it unless you request it. Because they know we don't know.
Yes, Lula, I would say you in my brain, because that's exactly what I was just getting ready to say. Everybody got someone to answer to. And if that field office is not treating you fairly, you think, they have a supervisor that they answer to. And I would highly recommend that you speak with that supervisor. It's just like myself. I answer to Mr. Reed as a state conservationist. If I'm not providing something to you all, then you all have every right to contact Mr. Reed and say, Mr. McMillian ain't helping us down there. He said this, he said that, but he ain't doing nothing.
And I have
Right.
actually talked to Mr. Reedus in Jackson. So I have been to the top. in
Report
Mississippi.
to somebody
But
too.
right now, I'm happy. I'm starting over and I'm okay with where I am because they're responsive. They're calling me. I'm not calling them. So I'm going to give this process, you know, the
That's
opportunity.
because of Mr. Reedus, them, when they came in,
Mm.
I normally go to
This
all the
was
different meetings. that
3 or
they
4
do.
years ago that I talked to Mr. Reedus. And at that time, with what I was trying to deal with, nothing happened. But things are different. I just went away, just told him to, I told them all, I'm done with, you guys. I will rather pay for my stuff than beg somebody. So I started over and things are working better.
Well, you bring a problem to us today. We thinking you're still going through, and when you contacted somebody that's helping you, is what you're saying now?
Right now, in the last month, I found maybe 2 months. I found a young man at NRCS locally who is helpful. And I just told him when I first talked to him, if you're going to be another one of these folks who are going to just tell me enough to shove me out the door, I said, we don't even need to talk. I can go away. But I said, if you don't have time to listen at me, if you don't have patience, then don't bother. But right now, this young, and in fact, I saw him today in the meeting that I went to. They're doing these outreach field days. So right now, I'm starting over the last couple of months. So I really am going to give this process the opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr.
In fact,
McMillan,
they just approved me for
Yes.
something that I had asked for about 4 years ago.
Mr. McMillan, so
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is that if we don't go into the office, if we speak to someone on the phone, that's still considered as a receipt of service. Am I correct?
You can ask for a receipt of service to be emailed to you. You can.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, and we've tried that before and we never got, and there were several ones that we did not get after talking to them on the phone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And again, just like myself and Miss Lula just said, everybody got
Yeah.
a boss.
Right.
For that area up there, area 1, Chickasaw County, all that area, that's considered area 1. The area office in Tupelo, Mississippi. Christy Robinson is the supervisor there. Ring her phone.
Yeah. And if anyone needs a copy of that area or anything like that, you can reach out to Tony because he has a list of what area you all are in.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I actually posted it in the chat. If you want to, you can hit that link and download the entire NRCS employee handbook, and that breaks down your counties, that breaks down your area offices. I think they did an excellent job on that. I found that book to be very helpful. Mr. McMillan, we don't want to hold you too long.
Okay.
I want to thank you for your time. And when they came in the office, I began to meet them. I'll tell you, I began to meet these young men over at MMFA with Miss Carolyn Jones, Mississippi Minority Farmers Alliance. I began to meet them, and one thing stuck out when I met, I think that was Mr. Carr and the other young man over FSA. They said that we had a partner in the chain of command and to come to you guys and ask. And I tell you guys, I tell the whole team, when this event came up, when we talked about maybe doing this, none of them said no. Every one of them jumped on. And y'all, we got to thank Mr. McMillan, and we got to thank Mr. Carr and Mr. Reedus and all these brothers, because I truly feel that once they came in, people started reaching out to us. People started saying, hey, okay, now what y'all need, what y'all want, even though may not have been as happy, but we did get some funding this year. And that's why I want you to know about the local work group meetings. Thank you for the information. And Ms. McMillan, you could close us out there if you want.
One thing before you go, Mr. McMillan.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if we're not satisfied with what's going on in our office, can we transfer to another location, another county, another office?
You can, but the state conservation and Mr. Reedus have to grant that approval.
All right, last round, everybody, before he shut it down. Anybody else got anything you want to throw out there right now? Please send me your contact information so that we can continue to share good, valuable content that you could take with you and go forward and make your life a little bit better. Anybody else other than that, Mr. McMillian can shut us out.
All right. Thank you all for allowing me to present to you. And again, please make contact with your local field office that you reside in or you farm in to ask to participate in the local work group meeting that's set for this year. Let me give you those meeting dates. They have to report to us by Friday, the 22nd, of what day each county is going to have their local work group meeting. Every local work group meeting has to be convened by Wednesday, August the 31st. So you need to be contacting your office now, asking them when they're planning their local work group meeting so you can be in attendance. And it's going to be teleconference. It's not in person with COVID numbers. They should be able to provide you with a teleconference number for you to call in.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are you able to hear me? I'm in the Stone
Yes.
County area, and I was wanting to know with the funding that is dispersed between each county, is a certain percentage of that funding given to minorities?
Each funding pool has its own funding pool. Own allocation of money. So we have so much money set aside for social disadvantage. We have money set aside for beginning farmer, limited resource farmer, and we have money set aside in each county funding pool. So, and that's the other thing too. They shouldn't be. There's an opportunity if you're applying for our program, you should be ranked in multiple funding pool and not just one.
Well, I feel that if I'm in a small town, I may be the only one interested in the beginners farming program. And I don't think anyone else Black that has applied.
Okay. You said Stone County?
Yes.
Okay. That's area 3. I just left that area. So if you applied in that area, I think you'll be taken care of pretty good.
Okay. Are you the I know we have a guy that's new in the office.
No, James Penn is the new district conservationist. He comes from Alabama. I actually hired Mr. Penn.
Okay, and I just went in not too long ago and updated some information, but I think my first application was lost.
Okay, all right. Mr. Penn
But
and Mr. Harrington, Mr. Penn and Mr. Harrington will take care of you down there in Stone County.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Mr. Jones, I have nothing else unless someone else has a question for me. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to advise you all on our local work group meeting. Mr. Jones, always know that we are here to help you all.
Yes, sir. And we certainly do appreciate it. And we're just so honored to have you. We'll be following back up with you on some of these questions to help our group out. But we certainly appreciate the help that we're getting so far.
Yes, sir. You all have a great day and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. McMillian. Thank you.
We will have a link to the chat. We will have a link to the chat available shortly. If anybody wanted, shoot me an email. We'll get it back out to you, and so you can share it in your own groups. And we will be coming back together to discuss how we can move forward with this. Thank you.
Sound great. I would like a copy of that link because I'm sure Mr. Readers would like to see this.
Absolutely. Please share it with Mr. Readers.
Will do.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You all have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Everybody have a great day.
All right, everybody. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.